what women are saying about men today, as a broad, is very true. We were not really applying ourselves, and I wasn't becoming this wonderful human until that moment.
All right, everybody, I am going to have a new product. It's called Agogi. It is a protein powder. Yes, I am promoting a protein powder, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because this is something that I use every single day. Agogi protein is a hemp-based protein. It is soy-free, gluten-free, THC, CBD-free, so there's none of that weird stuff in there. It's literally just the protein from the hemp plant. It's allergen-free, USDA organic, sugar-free, non-GMO, vegan. So it's got all the great qualities in it. Minimal ingredients, very clean. They have plain vanilla, chocolate, and they have a matcha flavor, which is absolutely amazing, and they're all very tasty. It's a complete protein. It's got all the essential amino acids for the building block of the body, because you want a strong body, especially as you get older. You're not going to bloat and fart all over the place. So enjoy. All right, and here we are on another episode of On the DELO. I'm your host, the DELO, and I got my buddy John in today, and we were rocking out to the beginning theme. John's in a band. You said you wanted to promote your band?
No, I don't. I do, but it's a bunch of 40-year-olds. Well, it's a bunch of Gen Xers and me. And I am the motivator, and they're like,
dude, that's the best band ever.
I want to be on stage.
Are you TikTok famous?
No,
no.
We don't have any such. I want to be doing the stage thing. They're just filling in gaps in their life.
Gaps in their life. Oh my goodness.
You know how the Gen Xers are.
No, I do. What gen are we?
I'm 41, and they're calling me a geriatric millennial. They being the dark masses of energy in the.
I'm older than you, dude.
I know.
So I'm not a millennial. I'm just an old man.
Okay.
Gen X, is that what it is?
Gen X.
Yeah.
You had no parents at home when you got home.
My kids started calling me a boomer, and I about hit them over the head with a 2x4. Unacceptable. For sure. All right, John, what do you want to talk about today? I want to start with the fact that you are a very nice man, and that is because you grew up in Ohio, and most people from Ohio and all these Midwest places are very nice people. But then you found yourself trucking out here to Arizona, and dude, you are the epitome of Arizona now.
It called me. I did not plan Arizona.
Yeah.
So as a 15-year-old, I started to go towards what would be the average Midwestern lifestyle. I picked up my first beer and said, hey, this is great. Then my second and my fifth. And, from 15 on, I became a party animal. And I made a poor decision to live on Ohio State's campus, which was a bastion for bad decision makers.
Yeah, got it.
So at the age of 19, I had kind of gotten into a mess, was working at FedEx for $10 an hour, and that probably would have been my future for a long time. And I bought a bag of illegal drugs, and that was the first time I'd purchased it.
Wow.
And said, what the hell's going on here? And I had a call from a guy in Phoenix who said, hey, I've been jilted. My fiance left me. And so I said, where's Phoenix again? And I looked on a map.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to move to California. I was actually born in Los Angeles only for 3 months of my life.
Okay.
But I was going to go back. And I looked it up and said, oh, cool, it's on the way. And that turned into, I'm 22 years later, still here.
You're still here.
So it called me, it had an idea for me. And so I am honored by you saying I'm the epitome of an Arizonan. I'm trying to be part of a group that would be redefining that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And we'll get into why I said that, because there's a lot of Arizona connection to you and what you've helped develop and being a part of that group. But first, when you get here, what are you doing? What happens? Like, are you...
Yeah, I had one friend, and I moved in with him. and I'll make sure he listens to this podcast so he can remember fond memories of, he didn't have money to pay his bills, so my 20th birthday was me sitting in an apartment alone under candlelight after a monsoon season that never kicked up one storm. That was 117 every day, and I learned a lot about that, about weather here. And I was in a spot where I think is very important in life to be. No resources, absolutely, I'm a white guy in America, so there's a lot of resources for me just because of my status. But I felt lonely and disheveled and a vagrant, and it was a really good thing in hindsight. I had to reach down deep into my portfolio of what was given to me in my personality, and I ended up getting a job at the Arizona Biltmore because of that roommate, where I met my wife.
Wow.
Very important part of this.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, don't need to get into that because it was a blind date set up, and she was supposed to be set up with my roommate.
Okay.
The one I moved there for.
Right.
Who had been jilted, and he's like, I'm just not feeling it. I like her friend, and long story short, we went on a double date where I ended up love at first sight with Katie, my wife.
This is crazy.
Crazy. So it all, this is about a year in. I'm dating Katie now. I'm working at the Biltmore, realizing I hate the service industry. I can't stand it. I'm a rogue individual.
Right.
I'm an Arizonan, this rugged individualism. So I eventually I did some jobs here and there, and alcohol was a big part of it.
Yeah.
I just partied too much.
I can relate.
I just never clicked in those years. And in 2008, I started a window cleaning business called Valley Shine Window Cleaning. And I did very well for a 23 to 28-year-old with that. But it still didn't click.
Wasn't your passion.
No, it wasn't until a backpacking trip where I saw the wilderness sign that said, "Welcome to the Chiricahua Wilderness," that I said, what the hell's going on in my mind? Why am I so intrigued by this imaginary line? So everything before that was kind of like the traditional, I'm just a guy in America, getting by, living by not having to have talent. What women are saying about men today, as abroad, is very true. We were not really applying ourselves, and I wasn't becoming this wonderful human until that moment. And I realized you got to pay attention to these things, these moments, know how to understand what's happening, that you're being called to something greater. And that sign moment for me, I give that in speeches a lot when I tell people about why I started Wilderness Brewing Company, all those things down the photography, everything. It was because kind of had to. The Spirit led me, whatever the Spirit is. It came down and shook me. And so that moment's probably the best. Everything before it's boring.
That was the moment.
Yeah.
That was the moment, yeah. And it's called Arizona Wilderness. Which,
absolutely.
Which is just one of these things where it's like you knew at that time and place that this was gonna be it. You probably didn't know exactly how it was all gonna pan out and what it was gonna look like today, but in the moment, I think you had a plan just to do it, just to move forward.
Yeah. Well, yes. There you go.
Yeah, right? So talk to me about that.
You said it so well.
Talk to me about that, though. Like, when do you start, looking for, from the entrepreneur spirit that you have, when does this become the moment where you start looking for places and you find your partner and you do all that?
I'm trying to gather my thoughts because, again, alcohol had a lot to do with it. You'll hear me talking about that a lot. I'm sober now. I've been for 4 years.
That's awesome.
And so it was a party back then.
Yeah.
So I don't want to come off as some great entrepreneur who had, I was willing to give a pound of flesh. And I think that's important. And I gave 2 pounds of flesh. Trust me, I was ready to go. But Patrick was a big part of what happened here. I had an original business partner who we bought out of the business. But long story short, Patrick came along, and there was, again, the spiritual guide, this magic from the ether.
Yeah.
And Pat was the counterpart to what I was looking for. Everyone wants to typecast Pat and I. He's the engineer. Sometimes we change roles, and I think we shift. We're chameleons for each other. But there's something more to it that maybe one day I'll figure out after we float on. I don't know.
Do you have to figure it out? I mean,
no, there's just something
Yeah.
there that works. And after finding Patrick, and he was brewing at Santan Brewing Company, and I needed someone who knew what they're doing.
Yeah.
And again, this is all because that moment in the wilderness and craft beer was booming. I was falling in love with craft beer very quickly.
Yeah.
I was going, this is an opportunity for me to be an entrepreneur. The two loves of wilderness and craft beer. So got the wife's 401k to do that, started a Kickstarter campaign, was the second brewery ever to do a Kickstarter or any crowdfund. We were successful. And I always tell people this, they're asking me about how to do a crowdfund. There's a Mark Gray statement, the baseball player for, famously for the Diamondbacks. He said, I was up bottom of the ninth against the Yankees, and if I got on, I knew that Gonzo would come after me. By hook or by crook, I'll get on. That's how I felt about Kickstarter.
Yeah.
You're going to get the money.
You're going to figure it out.
You're going to figure it out. You're going to say, please, 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 please to a lot of people. So I got that. And Patrick, at that point, wasn't so attracted to the whole thing.
Right.
And was like, this guy's got an ego. It's home brewer. That happened, and then he came down and tried the beer. And he said, you are doing something different, and I get it, and I believe in what you're saying. And so he also heard me say the term local a lot.
Yeah.
Local farmers, local purveyors. And so he's like, I've never heard, why would we do all this stuff? I want to learn more. And so I was able to give a piece of myself to Patrick. And then 12 years later, he's giving me a lot in return. So that relationship's been great. So that's kind of the birth of Wilderness Brewing Company.
And Patrick's been on this podcast many sessions back or whatever, and his story is phenomenal as well. And it's so cool to watch two people run a local business. I know that you probably have your things, and you have your successes, and you have your things that you learn from. But what do you think? What would you attribute the success of your guys' relationship to? Is it communication? Is it
growth? We started in caterpillar phase, and butterflies came along. We both acknowledge each other's growth. He knows that sobriety for me was a big deal. He knows that paying attention to details is a big deal. I know that when we had a TV show, we had a podcast, I know that all that stuff wasn't his deal, and he dealt with that. So we've put up with each other in ways that we respect each other for doing it.
That's cool.
And now he's we always joke about roles. He's kind of co-CEO, but I'd prefer him to be CEO in the long run.
Yeah.
I want to be a photographer running around the state and come back and giving inspiration. And so he's learning how to do that.
Right.
And so what a beautiful story. I think my job is to keep Wilderness in Wilderness Brewing Company. Because it just business can lose its flair, what its goal was really fast.
Yeah.
And everyone wants company culture and get it, go for it. But company culture will also you'll lose the vision of what your company was quickly when you forget that, like Patagonia, our North Star Patagonia clothing company, they were born from a moment in South America when Yvon Chouinard went down to Patagonia and went, oh my gosh, I have to be a part of preserving Earth.
Right.
If they just had good sales teams and wonderful company culture and they forgot about that moment, that would go away. So that's one of the roles I play. And Pat's doing a great job of leading 180 people to a successful, apparently we're making money, but trying
to your point, when you outgrow what it is that you have so carefully invested time, energy, and love into, and you outgrow it per se, which a lot of companies do, and that's not a criticism or a knock, it's just maybe that's the direction, you tend to lose a lot of the inner workings of what that establishment really is. And Arizona Wilderness to me, is one of those brands that doesn't want to do that, nor is on a track to do that. Like you guys are keeping it very, very close knit, Arizona tight. Like you're not expanding to 9 million locations all at once, doing your thing. And I think again, like when there's enough. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like,
well, failure is an option, and I think we would rather fail than succeed at great levels like that.
Yeah.
When I say like that, 9 states or even going to California or expanding before. So failure has to have a definition to it.
100%.
And if failure is your business shuts down, we're accepting that if it was to do the right things.
Yeah.
If inflation kept going, we would not go to styrofoam packaging. We're going to stay composting.
We're going to support local.
We're going to buy the local farmers. We're
Yeah.
going to tell Cisco, you need to be more locally focused if you want to be, on with us. So I always get a kick out of what people say success is. You're like 2 seconds floating as a feather here on Earth. Success isn't what you think it is.
It's so true.
It's not financially based. And shutting down, we have friends shutting their breweries down this month, one in particular. And we had a tearful conversation. And I just view them as so successful. You know how many bars around the world in Estonia?
Yeah.
I don't need to be in Estonia. We're in bars in Estonia. I'm on the Faroe Islands with this guy in the past 10 years. And we had moments where we looked at each other and said, might be the last time we ever do this. But because craft beer is so popular, we're at beer festivals around the world.
Yeah.
And he's shutting down, and I view it as successful. 10 years of a guy and his wife who led a brand successfully. So, I always tell people, you set what your success is. Do not listen to others.
1,000%. Yeah.
Don't tell me that wilderness is successful because we have a high revenue. I could give a shit about the high revenue.
No.
But we have high currency and culture.
Yeah.
And we're doing and I appreciate you noticing, we're doing what you're saying. I'm hoping we are. We're affecting the state's blueprint on how it moves forward.
For sure. No, I think that it's amazing in that all those senses. So I want to talk about your other career path. Your and I don't want to insult you by calling it a hobby, but to me, like photography would be a hobby because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You are a professional. I mean, your images are absolutely amazing. And I don't think a lot of people, at least within my crowd, even know this. And we're going to we'll put links to where you can, see John's art and all this stuff. But tell me how this began, and tell me a little bit about your process when you go out and you're in the wilderness, and like what goes on. I mean, you're in locations that you just don't see.
It began as an insatiable appetite that I cannot fill. It has been, as an addiction can be, it has been a healthy addiction, but it is an addiction. It's an insatiable appetite. First hikes were, I was inspired by the fact that the National Forest allows you to camp. I remember that clearly. Oh my gosh, you were saying I'm from Ohio, and so anyone from the Midwest, you don't have massive forest plots that you're allowed to just drive in and camp on national forest land,
right?
Meaning public lands, meaning we all pay our taxes to. It's a miracle. America is one of the only systems that has it. We always talk about other things in America that makes us great. Our national forest system and our public lands is one of the top reasons why we're amazing. And I was learning that, going, wow, I can go and camp for free. And so that was probably 2005, I'd assume. My bachelor party was camping. A bunch of friends, and we all cut down a tree. I don't advise that. We were part of forest thinning. And there's a wild side of me that I knew was in there. Everyone knew was in there, but it was coming out. And since that point, it's been gradually understanding that just like inside your brain, there's neural pathways, there's ridges, there's all these things. It's the same as planet Earth. We're mimicking the planet. Our brains, when you open it up, look like a mountain range. Our neural pathways look like cities. Our veins look like rivers, and you realize you are
part of it.
You're part of it.
Yeah.
And so as you dive deeper, and I, fully have to admit that I go hard. Don't try to keep up with me unless you're ready to nearly die every single outing. And I'm not kidding half the time. Anyone who's been with me can confirm that. I want it, and I want it all. And then when it comes to nature, I'll always be that way.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I want a piece of nature and it wants a piece of me, and I want to encourage that to others, that nature is a great healing device.
And you bring such a gift to people to enjoy from their own living rooms, you know? Because I tell you this much, I'm scared shitless of nature. I love it, but I don't like snakes. I don't like heights. I don't like rushing water. So when I look at your pictures,
Yeah.
I get all the extravagance right there.
Yeah, yeah. And the secret to it all is you're stealing from nature when you do that. When I do that, I'm absolutely taking things.
Yeah.
So as wisdom comes, you know, as the gray hairs come and you start to go, I am taking a moment from nature. What I need to successfully do is humbly give it away. It's no longer mine. If anyone's read the Rick Rubin book that just came out.
Yeah, yeah.
The second the art was made, it's no longer yours. And so
Correct.
I've gotten better as a photographer going, this is not mine anymore. It's nature's, to show David on his couch afraid of nature.
It's so cool.
Inspiring, you know, if you're 19 right now and you don't know what to do, you could look like me at 41 if you find nature and use it, you know.
1000%. Yeah. Has the photography helped you with this we'll call it sobriety, the non-drinking? Has there been
It
habits
filled a
that you
gap.
put in? Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, 2008 was my first real click that I can remember. Click being the physical click on a camera.
Yeah.
You know, some silly point and click. Yeah. And there is this little vision in my mind of what I want to go do. You know, like the storm's coming in, or I just wrote a piece for Arizona Highways magazine, finding rainbows and Beauty and the Beast, rugged landscapes with rainbows. You envision it, right?
Yeah.
I've gotten better at that. What was your question? I'm sorry. Now I'm thinking about rainbows.
No, that's okay. And actually, I want to make sure that we make note. I want people to look in the show notes and find a link to that article, because Arizona Highways, that's the National Geographic of Arizona. Basically.
It's better than National Geographic.
Yeah,
I can get into that if you ever wanted to, but
we're talking about sobriety and how this filled a
yes,
gap.
how it filled a gap. So all of these things, I'm thinking deeply and intently, and it's filling my idle hands.
Yeah.
You know, idle hands, devil's workshop. It's true, absolutely. And why I think men get typecasted as idiots is we developed a system where we had more idle hands than women. It's unfair, and it's a disadvantage for women. We made them, typecasted them into the busy hands, but we subjugated them to a lower class in many ways. I think history, you don't need to dive too deep. So long story short, I think where men struggle, and especially men in business, they struggle with understanding the drive can make you go insane. So I fill it with this photography drive, and that did replace alcohol. Alcohol wasn't the problem that it is for others for me. It was the party. Mm-hmm. Social environments are tough for me.
I can relate.
Yeah, they're tough for me.
Yeah.
And so I was in a social environment more than most people would imagine ever being in. And so alcohol was the easiest catalyst for me to say, cool, everyone wants a piece of my energy. So that did replace photography, and I have 4 years where photography kind of just took a side dip. I gained 60 pounds. I found myself in cities all over the world, living the dream. I had a TV show that I was the producer of. We had a lot of good things on paper, but there was an emptiness.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew that it was cliche. I wasn't surprised by it. But back to Arizona Wilderness Brewing Company, I think we kind of had to do some of those things to get to where we were. You can't really go back and unmanufacture what you've done.
Let me tell you why I love this conversation, okay? Because there's so much synergistic energy, and I've known you for a while now, and the thing is like, I quit drinking, I'm going on 10 years this year.
Yeah.
Okay? And again, it wasn't the alcohol for me, I was part of the party, I was part of the environment. I've owned 13 restaurants, I'm barandrestaurantinsurance.com, you know, I had to live and be the part, and you go through these seasons when you're 20 and you're 30, and then all of a sudden you hit 40 and you're like, what the fuck am I doing, right? And it's like, there was something that I needed to do for myself, not anybody else, for myself, to be the best person that I could be first for me to allow myself to be the best and the most present for everybody else, because now I'm coming into this in your 40s. I honestly believe you come into, if you're part of your career and doing it for a while, you come into your basically just game changing mode. This is everything. You've built up you've acquired the years, the wisdom, all that stuff. And you can either choose to have those things that distract from you becoming even better at your craft and helping others, or you can continue down that road. And I just at 40 made a decision to just stop doing it.
It's a decision that the strong will make successfully. And so when you make a decision about sobriety or breakups or whatever, the big moment where you're cleaving things away from you, you need to be, it doesn't need to be physically strong. You need to get mentally strong. And what happened for me was I read a book and I realized I needed the feminine spirit.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of men in the room in craft beer, and a lot of we were all so vain. We didn't know it. You know, a lot of us just want to be seen and loved, and alcohol helped us be seen and loved. And you got in rooms where people admired you. I read a book called The Naked Mind. I'm 192% positive on that.
Okay.
And the whole purpose was she essentially went to a doctor, had pain, found out that her mind was creating the pain in her lower back, and her subconscious was latching onto something. She used that to help people get away from drugs and alcohol. And I listened to the book on my 38th birthday. And that was the last time I drank. And I said, I'm not going to let my subconscious manipulate me. I'm not. And so
cool.
That's the strength that I was able to get. Now there are others who just don't have the moment and the luxuries that I had. You know, so sobriety, big deal.
The subconscious, everything that you talk about is absolutely there. So I do want to talk about kind of in today's life, and knowing that your train ride in your 40s is, you know, becoming on the timeline, you know, exponentially quicker and shorter and all that. So, like, what are your daily routines and habits and things as an entrepreneur, as a, you know, as a healthy person? Like, what do you like to do?
Well, I fight laziness.
Okay.
It's a battle you wake up with. But I also am challenged as a husband because I'm not great at partaking in other people's needs and desires. So my morning routine is about being with my wife. We play Wordle, of course, and making sure that time is protected.
You've been married how long?
20 years, November 3rd.
Yeah, congrats.
Yeah.
It's huge.
So we have that in the morning, and so emails used to be a thing where it was dominating, and I don't believe that emails need to be as important as they are.
Yeah.
So I have some systematic ways to make sure that if you're going to email me, it's to actually do something. Email time in the morning, and then a lot of times in the morning I'll get a run in, or I'll save that for the afternoon. And so running activity has to be part of every human being. Even if you're disabled in a certain way. Yeah. Activity is part of who we are as humans. We cannot skip that. And so I like right now I'm training for the Mason Marathon, and that'll be a gateway to do Cocodine, one of the Air Viper running. You know,
great races.
We're going to sponsor the Mogollon Monster.
Oh, wonderful!
And make a beer for it. So, and Jameel, who runs Air Viper.
Love Jameel.
So
is Patrick running with you?
Yeah,
training together.
Yeah. He just did rim to rim to rim at the Grand Canyon.
No way.
And we're just filling gaps. We're not, whether I run these races or not, I'm still going to train like I am.
Yeah. Well, that crazy mofo would take his bike from Arcadia or wherever to your Gilbert office.
Yeah, twice a week. Yeah. And I'll go downtown from Gilbert. But that's the constant motion. So part of my routine is constant motion, and then cooking twice a week for your wife is very important to, again, going back to subjugation, to make sure that there's equality in your house. And I don't always come through on that because running does get in the way,
Yeah.
work gets in the way, photography gets in the way. But, I think the evening is a time for sharing, if you have a family or not, sharing with your family that we're all equal in this house and we all chip in.
Love it.
And I learned a lot from my wife, the nuances of my failures and why they were neglectful of our relationship. So that is a big part of my afternoon routine, listening to her.
That's
and
amazing.
when it comes to photography, I'm getting better at explaining why I'm going, because there's a lot of
Yeah.
anxiety from her around.
Because I see that you probably leave for extended periods, right? When you go.
Yeah. Anyone who's ever gone with me, there's going to be, I just got stuck for 6 hours in the mud in a flash flood 3 days ago, and I had to have a friend come get me out, and he's like, yeah, sounds right. There's a level of, I'm not saying I'm crazy and don't plan, but there's a level of unexpected, unintended consequences. So
Yeah.
my daily routine, when it's photography, I have to get better at really digging into weather data, really digging into the shot I want. Does Arizona Highways need it? Does a client need it? Or am I just doing this to therapeutically bash my head into the wall
Right.
And yell and scream? And so 4 days ago was a yell and scream moment where I got stuck. I can send you some photos.
Please.
And luckily I have a winch and everything, I'm fortunate to have all this gear, but that's where the daily routine changes. But I love going hard up a mountain. I love not having a trail. I love getting scraped, cut. I love getting tossed
Yeah.
and turned, and carefully doing that. This is a guy 20 years in doing it and, carefully doing it. I would advise taking any advice from me right now and going out.
Right.
But I really thrive on that. So you see where I need therapy is there's a middle gap between the home, business, lifestyle, and then that.
Yeah.
And so that's where therapy comes in for me, talking that one out. Because in the middle is this lost, what do I do? And so over here, the business, it's against most things I believe in. I do not want to profiteer. I do not want capital to be the main reason why humans live on Earth.
Right.
And so, Patagonia is our North Star for 100, maybe 1,000 reasons, but one is that they struggle with the same issue. If they don't sell $1 billion worth of stuff per year, they're not going to be successful in the campaigns I want to go on. So, my routine is, movement is a big part of it. Desire to complete a goal is a massive part of it. If I don't have that, you're going to find me in the back of my house wallowing, and wallowing fucking sucks.
No.
Wallowing and whining and crying is terrible.
Dude,
and your wife doesn't need it.
No.
Your partner doesn't need it. And so I had gone through wallowing. As David Goggins says, I was being a bitch.
It's so beautifully honest, and it's one of the best perspectives I've gotten on this podcast when I ask that question. So thank you for that. This is just
I brush my teeth every day now too.
That's a good thing. Yeah, I try to do it every other day, but I'm getting better.
Got to build up a bio.
Got to build up something. Awesome. All right, I'm gonna throw out some rapid fire questions for you. You ready? Okay. Fishing or hiking?
Hiking.
Bigfoot or aliens?
Both.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen either one?
No, we are aliens.
Yeah.
We are. We're foreign to something, and I'm not terribly needing others. Like, you are weird enough for me. Other humans are crazy. Do you know what it's like to live with other humans every day?
Yeah, no, I
so
do.
I don't need aliens. Bigfoot, I think Bigfoot, whether it's real or not, we need stories.
We need stories. I know.
I could tell you about the turkey that ran through my camp once. I can tell you about a stalking of a mountain lion. I can give you the details, and it's a good enough story. But that turkey, true story, came through a camp once. It was the size of a house.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and it tried to molest me and kill me. And though the turkey was not a size of a house, as I tell that story, people are like, really? Turkeys can be big? It was probably a 32-pound turkey, which is big.
That's a big turkey.
Yeah. It was the papa turkey or the mama turkey.
Yeah.
But I think these stories grow over time because we need that.
Yeah,
Literal
we do need
statements all the time, boring.
I love it. Well, and your guys' merch, Wilderness merch, is amazing. We're gonna put the link for Wilderness. Even if you're listening to this and you're somewhere else, just buy a damn T-shirt.
We're starting a trail club.
Are you? Okay.
We're working with natural restorations, and there will be a whole line of Arizona Wilderness gear called the Trail Club.
Okay.
That will be dedicated to really good apparel made with recycled organic materials.
love it.
Yep.
I love
Kiefer Gilbert.
Keeper's the best. Yeah.
He's our first ever ambassador. He just ran a cold water.
He sent me his buckle. He just texted me his buckle. I was like, dude, this is
Ask him what hat he was wearing.
I will. I
Yeah.
will. I got to get me one of those shirts. Snakes or coyotes?
I love them both.
Okay.
Snakes are super, super important to the environment.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of run-ins with both, so I can't choose one. Coyotes do surround you. I had a little white dog that was kind of my heart.
Beautiful dog.
Yeah, Daisy, and we had been surrounded. I had to fight off coyotes with a tripod. They're easier to fight off than snakes. Snakes are rough,
Yeah. Ooh,
but they're awesome.
they're awesome. Burgers or tacos?
And there's a silence for a reason. So I switched to a plant-based diet
Okay.
for my biome, but burgers is what I know. We have tacos, and Chef David
Yeah.
is from Mexico City, and so tacos is something that would be part of his normal cuisine. So they're both amazing, but we're a burger joint, and I've learned so much about
Yeah.
beef.
Yeah, and you get it from Arizona grass fed.
Yeah, and now James Porter as well.
Oh, perfect,
His
James,
Wagyu, his Wagyu grown. So we have the options of
Okay.
two, and why cows are the most detrimental thing on planet Earth versus if you can switch to a mostly plant-based diet and sometimes eat meat, we're all going to get along better on this planet because grass-raised does take a lot of time, money, and effort and water and resources.
Right.
But CAFOs are the enemy.
100%. Yeah. No.
No taco CAFOs are out there.
Yeah. Yeah. No taco.
But beef can be a problem. We don't want to sell more beef at Wilderness.
Yeah.
We'd like you to consider our Earth Bowl once in a while.
Earth Bowl is amazing too. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have Porter on here actually. I hit him up on Facebook.
love that guy.
Sunset or sunrise?
Sunrise means you backpacked for the most part. I can get up early and drive, and I love that. That means you're waking up with your gear behind you.
Yeah.
Sunsets can be depressing because you're viewing them while driving from work, going, fuck, I should be out there.
Out there.
I love sunrises.
Okay.
That means I'm backpacking. No, I'm talking photography. I love when I wake up with my backpacking gear. It's just, I don't think there's a more complete feeling besides being with my wife in those mornings. But you know what I'm saying? You have you gone backpacking?
When I was a kid. in Boy
Dude, we're going to
Scouts.
get you backpacking.
Okay.
We should do a live podcast while backpacking.
Let's do it. We'll bring Diddy.
Yeah.
You film it.
And you wake up with all of your gear and you watch that sunrise. It means something that you can't explain. It's like
Okay.
you are one with nature.
I'm in.
Yeah.
My wife's gonna laugh when she hears this. Say, "You're not going in nature." I'm like, "I'll do it. I'll do it with you. I'll do it." Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'll
Yeah.
protect you.
Let's do it. Yeah, please. From snakes. Dogs on the bed or the floor?
On the bed.
100%, right? I knew you were going to say that. That's why I asked that. Read a book.
That's your best friend.
It is your best friend. It's everything.
You're not going to have your best friend sleeping on the cold
No,
floor unless
no.
they're like, a Marmaduke size.
Huge, yeah.
Yeah, like I get it. But Daisy has left an imprint in our bed that I can't feel. A little dog named Olive is sleeping in bed.
Yeah.
And she's a cuddler. And, what are we, not animals?
I love your
Let 'em
photos
sleep
of
in-
Daisy. Yeah,
Yeah.
such a beautiful thing. Elton John or the Grateful Dead?
I don't know how people can choose one of those. How do you choose one? Elton John.
You don't have to. It's just
made being queer cool, and I
Yeah.
think that's an amazing fact.
100%.
And his talent level was second to none. Solid Wall of Sound is one of the greatest moments in music history. The Grateful Dead started a cult
Yeah.
that still lives, and it's powerful.
Yeah.
Both are so cool, and I, as a musician, I love both of them. They're both
great.
very important.
Yeah.
And Elton John's, they're all so complicated.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, Freddie Mercury. I mean, that Queen movie, like, just absolutely.
The complicated
Yeah.
roots of rock and roll are twisted in earth, and they've entangled us all. And as it slips away, I asked Logan Plant, we were talking about
Yeah.
Robert Plant's son Logan's a great friend of mine. I said, will the 70s ever be repeatable? And his son will probably be what it seems like a Bieber. That's Logan's son, Harlan.
Yeah.
Cool kid. He's part of the Billie Eilish blow up, right?
Okay.
And he said, that is the new Led Zeppelin. Quiet, tame, emotional.
Yeah.
But man, what was happening in the 60s and 70s is just...
Dude, Led Zeppelin was
it's hard to not...
amazing.
To not, we sound like boomers now, but it's hard to not go, give me some fucking raw energy. And I love Billie Eilish.
Yeah.
But what you just said about Elton John is he was rock and roll.
100%.
He was.
I love all of them for what they are. And
Chuck
appreciate
Berry
them
was
for
the
what they
greatest,
are.
though.
Chuck Berry was amazing.
Freddie King, nothing like him.
Yeah. Oh, God. All right, let's end on that. Thank you so much for coming by. Is there anything, we're going to put all your stuff in the show notes, this and that. Anything you want to plug?
I have a book project coming out, and it's now September, with Arizona Highways Magazine on all 90 wilderness areas. I was able to go, and again, very fortunately, with a lot of gas money, I want to acknowledge that. And I also was on Native American lands. There's a lot of things to acknowledge with this book that I was able to partake in. I was given the opportunity from Arizona Highways and the Wilderness Society. It's going to be part of... Who's laughing?
Oh, it's just my staff. Don't worry about it.
Oh,
I can't hear it on the podcast.
What a great microphone. Gosh, your sound producer is amazing. The book will come out in September to basically be a photography book with my journal notes of all 90 wilderness areas. The rule is I would have to be spending a night every one or 12 nights, depending on what it was. So that comes out in September. Wilderness Brewing Company... Look, it's an ongoing, it's a verb. It's always going. If you've never heard of us or been, prepare for a long journey. You don't just come in and try a burger and go, that was good. It's what the hell's going on here? And peering around the corner of wilderness, I'm hoping you're getting something that is greater than I could ever give you, and that's 180 people really dedicated to a story that, I could do a podcast on wilderness and we could go for 6 hours.
100%.
From the way that our company, like our 6 mission statement, number 1 is environment. And I really don't love the term 5 C's. I think we should be on the 6th C, which is conservation. The state must reformat what it thinks. We're no longer Barry Goldwater State. We're no longer John McCain State. We need to be a new state where we view things differently and do things differently. And I know that capitalism is the only thing the state's concerned about, but it's not going to be successful if we don't stop that now. So Wilderness Brewing Company is going to be a part of writing a new blueprint where there can be some revenue made. But even simple things like adaptive reuse, we waste our money on adaptive reuse. And Pat and I don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
So when we get a building on 14th and McDowell, it is in a neighborhood where there are displaced people living there. There's gang activity. And we know that because of the type of tagging. There is theft. We had $50,000 worth of equipment stolen 2 weeks ago. It's still going to be worth it because that building was already built.
Yeah.
In a neighborhood that needs love.
Right.
Versus going and building, and no offense to your clients who build new, this is just our philosophy, but we are going to be a lower impact. So we're going to take a building that's historic, and we did that with 2nd and Roosevelt, our downtown Phoenix location.
Beautiful.
And that's because Chris Osborne, by the way.
Yeah, God bless Chris. Rest in peace, Chris.
So that's my plug. Wilderness Brewing Company is not me, it's them.
I love it.
And I get to be a part of it.
I love it, and I can certainly attest to that. So, no, this is amazing. Thank you for coming by. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And, again, I just have fun talking to good people and having these great conversations.
Thanks for having me on. Sleep with your dogs, everyone, in bed.
And send me pictures.
You're just as filthy. Trust me.
Yeah, it's so true.
Filth is very important.
It's all over us.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, everybody. Peace out.